Live and in person, please be joined by fifth-year midfielder Jackson Birtwistle. Jackson, thanks so much for coming on. Great start. Congrats on the great start. How you doing today?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for having me. It's been awesome so far, but we obviously have some more work to do going forward.
All right, you guys came in obviously with great expectations. We knew this team could score, and man, you guys have been putting up a lot of goals here in these first three games. Have you learned anything about this team, through these first three games? How would you kind of assess your overall performance to date?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of experience, right? I think that's one thing that's a plus this year. But I think that we've really been doing a good job of being unselfish and kind of playing off each other. I think we've all played with each other for a couple of years now, so just been good to kind of, play off each other and just, kind of have fun out there, really.
You said it right there, right? You've got experience, but not only do you have experience, everybody on this team seems to have experience playing lacrosse, but you've got experience playing lacrosse together. How much does that help with chemistry, and especially early in the season, in this day of NIL and so many guys transferring and whatnot, and everybody's dealing with new pieces? You guys have so many of the core pieces back from last year. How much does that help?
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I think chemistry is, really the first thing that you need, and being able to look back at past years and kind of see, where we didn't do things right, where we did do things right, and being able to kind of implement that into what we're doing now on the field has been huge for us. And I think so far we've been successful, but we got a couple really good tough tests coming up, so we're looking forward to it.
All right, this is your fifth year, as we mentioned, so you've been here a minute. How is this team different? Is this team different than the other four that you've been a part of?
Yeah, it's a good question. I wouldn't say, I think all teams are different in a certain way, but I think specifically we've been able to be successful, I think, just on the fact of experience. I think touching back on that experience part, I think that is really big. We've seen the best defenses in the country in terms of offense. We've seen the best defenses in the country. We've seen some of the best goalies, and we've kind of seen it all. We've had the OT losses and things like that. So kind of just being able to use our experience to kind of move us forward has been something we've really been touching about and talking about moving forward.
You've got 3 goals so far through the first 3 games. There are 8 guys on this roster right now with 3 or more goals, so averaging a goal or more per game. That balance, we talk about experience, but how important is it to have balance so that, if an opposing defense does a nice job taking, one of your options away, it seems like you guys have, multiple answers who could pick up the slack?
Yeah, I think that means everything, right? Being able to have that depth, and I'm speaking offensively, being able to have that depth as an offense is huge. Throughout the season, unfortunately, you may get things like injuries for some games. You may get things like some guys aren't having their best game possibly, and being able to use that depth all the way down the line is huge for us. I think we really do have that this year.
Can you take us back on your personal journey and how you ended up here at Syracuse, and what your expectation was, I guess, when you arrived here, and now in your final year, as you look back on your career, do you feel like I would absolutely do it all over again?
Yeah, to answer your question right off the bat, 100%. This place has been awesome. This place has been a second home for me. It's been everything. But yeah, I've kind of had a bumpy road here at Cuse, with being my 5th year. We had that 4-10 season and received a lot of criticism, and now we're kind of receiving the other end of that, and everyone's kind of hyping us up. But one thing I would say is kind of just trying to keep the media out of it, kind of just trying to focus on ourselves. But yeah, I've had a pretty unique ride here at Syracuse, but yeah, I wouldn't change it for anything. It's been unbelievable, and I'm really excited to start getting after it this season.
Joey Spallina said something a couple weeks ago when we were talking to him that, all the excuses are off the table, right? For a while, we could use the excuse that this team was young. Well, you're not young anymore. You hadn't learned how to win yet. Now you've learned how to win. You've got a lot of, your veterans on this team. You're deep. Do you guys kind of feel like you have that chip on your shoulder that, all right, this is it? And obviously for you, this is your last ride. So, I mean, do you look at it as going into this year with a chip on your shoulder that it is kind of, Memorial Day weekend or bust at this point?
Yeah, 100%. You look at where we've been in terms of history of Syracuse lacrosse, and, you look at where we are now. I think we understand as a team that we have the pieces that we need to get to where we want to go, being, the Final Four and winning a national championship. But we also are humble enough to realize that, we haven't done anything yet. We haven't got to a Final Four. We haven't, hoisted that trophy. And that's definitely at the top of all of our minds, and just kind of being able to utilize that and kind of use that as fuel. And like you said, that chip on our shoulder is definitely something that we have right now.
You know, when you talk about the history, I mean, do you look at it too as like a certain responsibility, or even a privilege to try and get Syracuse lacrosse back on that championship path? That, you leave, every player, every coach wants to leave the program in better shape than when they found it. Do you kind of take that as a responsibility, being one of the senior leaders on this team?
Yeah, like you said, I think it is a privilege. When you sign that document to come here and play lacrosse for Syracuse, you understand the history right away, right? So being able to possibly be a part of that and kind of bring that back is definitely something that's at the top of our minds.
Before we get to the next opponent, Jackson, one of our listeners in the chat section wants to know what your future lacrosse plans are. I know there's still a lot of lacrosse left this season, but when you leave SU, have you thought about what's next for you?
To be honest, I really haven't. Playing professionally would be cool, but I don't know if that's a possibility for me or not. So, right now, really just being able to kind of focus on this team, and if it's my last competitive lacrosse game ever, that's all right. This is an awesome team that I want to go down with, and I can't wait to see what we have this season.
All right, let's look ahead to this next opponent. And, it seems like you guys have kind of been building up to this, right? Jacksonville and Vermont, both quality teams, but teams that you guys should go out and beat, and you took care of them. And then you played a ranked opponent in Towson and beat them. And now, a top 10 opponent in Maryland, and it's your first road game. Can you speak to this challenge going on the road, taking on this particular team on Saturday?
Definitely. Yeah, obviously in years past, they've got the best of us. Obviously last year in the Dome in overtime. So that's definitely, right at the top of our minds. But we understand they're a very good team. They always will be. They're very well coached. They always have, elite players on both sides of the ball. So we know that, we have a really good test, and we're really looking forward to that. We're excited to go on the road for the first time, like you said, and we're excited to kind of just, attack these goals that we have going forward. And, I really can't wait for 2:00 on Saturday.
And then I guess just, lastly, if you could speak to the buzz around this program right now and the fan base. And, I know playing in the Dome is something special. You guys have had 3 opportunities already, and it seems like these fans have come back in droves, and if you keep winning, that's going to continue. Can you speak to, I guess, the atmosphere in the Dome, Jackson, and this lacrosse community that you've had a chance to play for and entertain for the last 5 years?
Definitely, yeah. It means everything to me, and it means everything to us as a team. Honestly, the buzz all 5 years, even when obviously we had that tough season. Even during then, the buzz around the lacrosse team and the sports here is unbelievable, and I can't imagine it's like this anywhere else. So it's really been awesome these past 5 years. I've been able to kind of soak it all in. It's weird talking about it now being my last year, but yeah, it's really been tremendous. It's been awesome to be able to be here and kind of just. Yeah, do everything we can to, bring hopefully a championship back to this city.
I lied. I've got one more question since you just said that it's, weird this being your final year. Do you find yourself, and I know it's early in the year, but do you find yourself kind of stopping and, maybe taking it all in a little bit more, not taking it for granted, like each practice and games? And do you find yourself, I don't want to say smelling the roses, but you know what I mean? Do you try to kind of take it in a little bit more than maybe you did when you were a freshman or sophomore?
Yeah, I think the basic answer to that would be yes. It's obviously weird because we want to win each week and have good practices and things like that. But and I'd be lying if I said I don't think about it more. It's weird. I feel like it's flown by. But yeah, it's a pretty crazy thing that it's almost over. But I'm just pumped for this season, honestly.
All right, a lot of lacrosse left this year to look forward to. Number 6 Maryland is next Saturday on the road at in College Park, 2:00. Jackson, thanks so much for the time. Continued success to you and your teammates.
Thank you very much, guys. Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, Jackson Birtwistle joining us here on the show. And with that, we'll take a timeout. We'll open up the phone lines, 315-437-7644. We are back after this on ESPN Radio.